Well, hey there, everyone. How are you? It is Bryan Barron here with you today. I'm the Director of Skincare Research for Paula's Choice Skincare. It is the 1st of June, 2022, and today's show, the topic is going to be our just launched today 5% Niacinamide Body Serum. This is a product that we have been working on less than a year from conception and development to launch, which actually is a whole other story, but very, very proud of all of the effort that went on behind the scenes from several different team members to bring this product to you so quickly. My involvement is more in the concepting, the research behind the ingredients, working with our chemists to make sure that we are using the key ingredients at efficacious levels that are supported by the published research, that we are combining them in the best delivery system so that you get the best results. That there's I guess you could say I play a role with people who are smarter than me in making sure that even when we're using products that have ingredients like niacinamide, as wonderful as it is, there are a lot of brands that offer products with niacinamide, right? So Paula's Choice, one of the things that I think we can boast about is we really work hard to make sure that we are delivering those special, proven to be beneficial ingredients in a unique and compelling way that really ensures that you're going to get the best possible results from our products. That does not mean, of course, that other brands' products with niacinamide are bad or that don't work very well. I would never make a blanket statement like that. There's good and bad products across the board. And that can vary depending on what your personal criteria is. So, our job is to formulate with the ingredients that research has proven to be highly effective for the intended concerns the product is meant to address. And that is certainly true of niacinamide. It's one of our favorite ingredients to work with. The research about it is unequivocally clear. It is a skincare multitasker, as I like to say, because it improves so many aspects of skin. It's not just a one and done type thing. Vitamin C, retinol, hyaluronic acid, they also fall into that camp. I'm a little embarrassed though, because I've been using this product for quite some time, and I'll tell you why I love it. We're going to go over what's special about it. We're going to go take a bit of a deeper dive into the key ingredients. I'm going to be addressing some questions that have come up about this brand new formula. Just hit our website this morning, but the embarrassing part, separate from the fact that my full size is almost gone, is that I have an undecorated component. So this is the actual packaging, and the product inside is the actual formula. And I've been using it for several weeks, but I just wanted to show you. It's a thin. It's a serum-y gel almost. It kind of dispenses as a cream, and then it rubs out, and it kind of looks wet on the skin, for lack of a better word. But it doesn't, don't worry, it doesn't feel, I think it feels wonderful on the skin, and I hope that you'll agree when you, it's lightly emollient, it has a really nice slip to it, and it's just an incredible, smooth, and easy to layer texture. So one of the things that we realized early on in the development is that this is not designed, this 5% niacinamide body serum, that I literally just bought 2 more of this morning because I don't want to be out of it. It isn't designed to replace your regular body lotion or cream, or your leave-on exfoliant, or your retinol body treatment. It's designed to complement the benefits, complement the results, and there are some more specific concerns that I'll discuss that the 5% niacinamide body serum nicely addresses versus what some of our other leave-on body care products do. So I have been layering this in the morning underneath the replenishing body cream from Paula's Choice, which is also a staple in my body care routine. I have been focusing application of this on my arms, and I'll explain why. And then in the mornings, now that I'm wearing short sleeve shirts more often and I'm outside more often because it's much nicer outside and it's sunnier, I've incorporated sunscreen into my body care routine. Normally, unless I know I'm going to be going outside and like doing something active and exposing more skin, I'm on the beach, on the water, whatever, I don't typically put a body sunscreen on. I do face, neck, ears, behind the neck, because I have short hair, and so that behind the neck area, often forgotten spot for sunscreen. But on an ordinary day, just going about my business, I rely on clothing to be my sun shield, so to speak. So let me pull up my notes here. So the 5% niacinamide body serum, it is for all skin types, all ages, all ethnicities. There are no contraindications. You can layer it or mix it with whatever other body care product that you use. It will not make retinol less effective. In fact, there's a growing body of research on the synergy between niacinamide and retinol. Very exciting there. So the price is $29 USD, $29 for a 4-ounce size. And I would say if you're using it on targeted areas, so like maybe you're putting it on the arms and your chest or your forearms and the lower legs, I would say you can expect 2 to 2.5 months with daily usage. I use it once a day. You can use it twice a day if you feel that works better. As with the frequency of application with many different types of products, it's up to you to experiment and then monitor how your skin does. But just to reassure you, if you opt to use this twice daily, you're not increasing your risk of having a sensitized response. This is a very, very gentle product. Individual allergic reactions notwithstanding. So it's $29 for 4 ounces, and it targets, in terms of what it does, it targets those tricky, small, and widespread discolorations that happen on the body. So whether you're dealing with dotted discolorations around pores, what people sometimes refer to as strawberry legs, because the discoloration can look like the strawberry seed on the actual fruit. So whether you're dealing with that or uneven skin tone on the body from sun damage, stubborn marks left over from past breakouts, this product can help. It works by strengthening skin's surface layers, helping to stabilize the microbiome, reducing what is irritating skin and causing that discoloration, and encouraging a healthier skin tone overall. So, quick few facts. Skin's barrier weakens with age and sun damage and becomes less able to repair itself and less able to maintain adequate hydration. And we often talk about skin's barrier in the context of facial skin care, but from head to toe, our skin has a barrier, and it is working around the clock as best as it can to help protect skin's lower layers from damaging elements and help keep skin's first line of defense, its surface, as intact and as healthy as possible. But there are many, many things separate from the passage of time that can weaken or deplete the various substances like ceramides that comprise a healthy barrier. And then on top of that skin surface barrier, you have what some researchers have referred to as the invisible barrier, and that is what another way to describe skin's microbiome. That is the combination of the flora and the fauna, the friendly bacteria, along with not so friendly bacteria that ideally coexist, kind of like a big community of people, and in order to keep the host, which is us, as healthy as possible. Skin's microbiome, just like its barrier, can become perturbed, as it were. And when that happens, and particularly if it happens on an ongoing or consistent basis, skin's health and appearance will begin to suffer. So we did include some technology in the 5% niacinamide body serum that is going to help target the microbiome, that invisible barrier, as well as your actual skin barrier composed of those fatty acids, your sebum or skin's oil, cholesterol, and various free fatty acids. The other fact is that skin's healthy color changes with age and sun damage and often takes on an uneven and sallow look. So the same niacinamide's benefit for uneven skin tone, for sallowness, for sun-induced or post-breakout induced hyperpigmentation, that can occur on the body as well as the face, and you can use this ingredient either place. And that was actually a quick segue to one of the questions that has come up about this body serum. You absolutely can use it on the face. There is nothing in it that is off limits for the face. In fact, one of my colleagues, Deborah, I'll read you her full quote later on in the episode here, but she has found that she really loves this on her face and loves what it does there as well as on her body. So we'll get to that. So star ingredients niacinamide, vitamin B3, panthenol, vitamin B5 are formulated in a thin serum cream texture that's aided by a blend of caprylic capric triglyceride. They're the super light, easy spreading emollient cocoa caprylate caprate. Both of those ingredients are derived from coconut. And myristyl myristate, which is a fatty acid derived ingredient from myristic acid that leaves a super soft finish. The myristyl myristate is also what gives this serum kind of its refreshing, I described it earlier as a wet feel upon initial application, but then you'll see just what a nice slip this has and a really smooth, glowy dry down that doesn't feel greasy or tacky or sticky. All things we wanted to avoid when we were discussing the aesthetics of this product. So we touched on usage. I mentioned that you could apply it once or twice daily after cleansing and using a leave-on exfoliant, AHA or BHA. A thin layer will suffice. So I have been using this from my hands all the way up my arms and like undersides of my arms, as well as across my chest. And I use 2 pumps. And I do 2 pumps, spread it around my palms, and then I just apply up and down. Takes about maybe 20 seconds or so to do that, and then I just let it absorb as I go through the rest of my routine. I don't immediately put a shirt on over this, and I would advise not doing that, and you at least give it 30 seconds to 1 minute to absorb or set before you get dressed. So that'll kind of dictate at what point in the routine that you use this in terms of timing. The key ingredients that we're going to discuss in a bit more detail, there's the panthenol, which is present in a clinical efficacy level of 5%. There's niacinamide at 5%. We have the shea butter, the watermelon seed oil, the mango seed butter, jojoba seed oil, saccharide isomerate, which is an interesting ingredient in and of itself, particularly in terms of hydration and barrier repair. The hydrolyzed Optunia ficus indica flower extract, more commonly known as prickly pear. And then last but not least is the bacillus ferment ingredient, which is kind of working behind the scenes to help support skin's microbiome, that invisible barrier. So I mentioned earlier that niacinamide is one of those multitasking ingredients. It's capable of improving uneven skin tone anywhere on the body. Ditto for discolorations. It targets enlarged pores, and despite their strong association with facial concerns, facial skincare concerns, pores can become enlarged and clogged on the body as well. And we know that even though science hasn't clearly elucidated or explained how it works, we know that niacinamide through some mechanism of action, has a positive effect on the pore lining, either how it's shaped or how it works. It could be because of its influence on creating a healthier, a higher quality oil, which I've touched on before. And it also helps to soothe skin and really help to repair and restore an impaired barrier, primarily via the ability to synthesize ceramides within skin's uppermost layers. So all of that makes niacinamide a hydration boon as well, because when you are stimulating those ceramides, when you're reducing factors within skin that are causing that ongoing irritation, your skin is going to be is going to be in a much better position to be able to prevent water loss and to help maintain that balanced amount of water within its layers, which is a key to healthy skin. If that barrier, if that surface isn't intact, if there are holes in that barrier, very much like when you have a hole in your window screen, you are much more likely to have flies and other flying insects in your house. And obviously an intact screen is going to keep those buggers where they belong, outside, and not as pests inside your house. Panthenol, that's an ingredient that we've used for years, and for a long time we kind of thought, yeah, it's a nice ingredient. It's a humectant. It has nice skin conditioning properties. It also has conditioning and to some extent reparative properties when used in hair care. Some of you may remember Pantene hair care. For years and years, they really hit hard on their provitamin B5, which is another name for Panthenol. So they were kind of one of the first, if not the first, hair care brands to really capitalize and promote on Panthenol as being a hair care staple. But as it turns out, even though we've known for a long time that it's a very good humectant, which is an ingredient that draws and holds moisture on and within skin, we've known that for quite some time. Newer studies, particularly at higher levels above 1%, and here you're getting it at 5%, shows that it offers significant skin healing, soothing, and improved hydrating abilities, along with helping to fade post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation and redness related to injuries that would otherwise take a long time to heal. So as a quick example, this is completely anecdotal. This past winter, I had my first bout with a form of eczema called nomular eczema. And whereas classic eczema typically involves smallish to medium-sized patches of itchy, dry, flaky skin, and the itching can be so bad that people with it will often scratch to the point of causing skin infections, because the eczema itself causes some damage, the itching, and you take something that's bad and make it worse. And believe me, I get it, because the itching from eczema can drive you to distraction. It's all you think about is just stopping that itch. So nomular eczema doesn't necessarily itch as much, and it's much smaller. It's really about that big on average, so about the size of a United States dime, and it can be raised and kind of bumpy. And I had a patch of that under my arm here this past winter, and I treated it with topical over-the-counter hydrocortisone cream, as well as just making sure that I was keeping that area very moisturized. I realized that in my body moisturizing routine in the winter, when my skin definitely gets drier, that area was one that I was missing. Because again, it was in kind of an obscure spot, not like right here where it's kind of hard to miss. And long story short, I ended up with some post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation that was kind of like reddish to purple. And if this weren't such a family-friendly show, I would lift up my dog. I wish I had taken a before picture, because since being consistent in using the 5% niacinamide body serum in this area, making sure that when I put it on my arm, I absolutely get it under there as well, I noticed a dramatic improvement in the color of that post-eczema mark, as it were. So it's fading it a lot faster from sight, and I'm very, very happy about that. And of course, I've not had any irritation. One of the things that Panthenol also does is that it increases the mobility of different lipids and protein segments within skin's surface layers. And what this does is it helps skin maintain those adequate moisture levels. It's not about just giving your skin water. The skin has to also be able to know where to direct that water so that it doesn't get saturated, so that the water levels are balanced. And then it also has to have a way to hold on to the right amount of water. You want some of it to evaporate, but if too much of it evaporates, you will start getting dehydrated and eventually drier skin, particularly if your skin is lacking in those lipids or oil to work with the water and basically keep everything in balance, keep that moisture in the skin. Panthenol is just an incredibly exciting ingredient at this level. It does have a soothing action that can help to reduce itchiness associated with barrier damage. So it's not, I wouldn't put it, it's not therapeutic in the sense of, oh, if you have eczema, you should use this instead of whatever your dermatologist prescribes. Absolutely not. But as an additive, it's certainly incredibly helpful for its soothing action in that regard. And so these two ingredients, the Panthenol and the niacinamide working in harmony, they are what is helping to address that dotted discoloration that some people refer to as strawberry legs. And what that actually is, some describe it as an open comedone or clogged pore. And it can be that. But I think more often than not, particularly because it tends to be more common in people that shave their bodies, whether it's legs or chest or wherever, but you get, it is a follicular inflammation that if you have a lighter skin tone, you tend to see the inflammation as a pink to red and maybe even a violet to purple dotted discoloration right at the opening of the follicle, also known as a pore. If you have darker skin, if you have more melanin-rich skin, you will most likely see that dotted discoloration as a dark brown to black dot. In either case, regardless of skin color, there is a contrast between the color of the follicle opening and the color of the surrounding skin. And when looked at over a large patch, like on your thigh or on your shin, you've got that dotted discoloration that some people have called strawberry legs. So niacinamide's action within the follicle, coupled with its natural soothing action, and then the soothing and the visible healing benefits of Panthenol at this level, that is what is really going to help fade the appearance of those marks and help prevent them from happening as a result of inflammation. So that's why we love it for that. We are using, I should mention, there are two forms of Panthenol, D-Panthenol and DL Panthenol, and the DL Panthenol is what's referred to as a racemic or equal mixture of the D-Panthenol and the L-Panthenol. As far as I know, you can't get L-Panthenol on its own for use in cosmetics, but we're using the 100% D-Panthenol, and the reason for that is because studies have shown it is more bioavailable to skin. Your skin can readily convert that Panthenol to its the form that is what actually does the work, known as pantothenic acid. So it's analogous to retinol in terms of, in order for retinol to be effective in the skin, enzymes in the skin and its metabolism have to break that retinol down into retinoic acid in order for you to benefit. It's the same thing with Panthenol. It must be broken down into pantothenic acid, and the skin is capable of doing that fully when the D form is used. Really wanted to touch on some of the emollients in this formula that they're definitely being used at efficacious levels, but not like at the same level we're using them in our body butter, which has a very different, almost toothpaste thick texture that is wonderful for really dry hands, dry spots on the body, incredibly moisturizing. So shea butter is that established natural emollient. It also offers antioxidant and skin soothing benefits. Some of the antioxidants found in shea butter are your quercetin the epicatechin gallate, gallocatechin, and epigallocatechin. Say that 4 times fast, as well as the skin replenishing fatty acids stearic and linoleic acid, the latter being an omega-6 fatty acid. So what about the hydrolyzed Optunia ficus indica flower extract, which is another ingredient that we are spotlighting in this serum? I mentioned that it's commonly known as prickly pear, and there is an isolated component from the flowering portion of this plant that has been shown in clinical studies to reactivate skin's natural enzymatic exfoliation process, and that is going to lead to a refined texture. So it's going to work with the niacinamide to help smooth that rough texture, to help reduce the risk of those patches of dry, flaky skin. It reduces the unwanted accumulation of dead cells on skin surface, and then it also helps to coax skin's natural renewal process back to its normal level. That renewal process can become sluggish and slow down with time, with environmental damage, with simply just getting older. So the action of this ingredient has also been shown to visibly fade post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation marks from acne, so it's also working in that regard, and it's considered non-irritating to skin. In fact, there are plant sugars in the flower extract that are referred to as oligosaccharides, and the content in the flower can help also aid in improving the strength of skin's barrier. So if you're sensing a pattern with this serum, we're focusing on the barrier strength, the barrier repair, the soothing of those irritating factors in skin that can lead to unwanted discolorations, and that as well as addressing what environmental damage does and how it changes one's skin tone and skin color over the years, leading to more of an ashy look, a rougher texture. You may see some sallowness or increased yellowing of your skin, regardless though, it won't look as smooth and even as refined as you want it to, and that is where this can help, and it can help pretty quickly. So how is the action of what Optunia ficus indica flower does, how does that differ from acid exfoliants like AHAs and BHA? So those ingredients work by breaking the adhesive junctions that hold those corneocytes, aka dead surface cells, together as they continue to accumulate. That process, the end result of skin naturally shedding those cells can again slow down. It can become faulty. In some cases, it can stop altogether. And then what happens is, instead of the cells shedding at a normal rate, they just build up and build up and build up. So what prickly pear does is it boosts the precise enzymes in skin that carefully control that surface cell shedding and renewal. And it's a gentler approach that complements rather than competes or conflicts with how AHAs, BHA, or even polyhydroxy acids or PHA, how those work on the skin. We also have watermelon seed oil. That's a newer ingredient for us, but a very exciting one. It comes from the Kalahari melon, which is native to Africa. It's another name for it is wild watermelon. It's a fascinating plant because it thrives and can continue to thrive in areas that have high levels of drought. So it is one of those exotic type plants that doesn't need much water to grow and to sustain itself. But what we particularly like, separate from the growth and cultivation story, is that the seed oil contains up to 70% essential fatty acids, including linoleic, which is about 60% of the content, oleic, palmitic, and stearic acids. It's also a rich source of both alpha and delta tocopherols. There are different types of vitamin E. Those two are particularly beneficial as free radical scavengers when applied to skin. Also worth mentioning is that the watermelon seed oil we're using is cold pressed, which preserves its heat and solvent sensitive nutrients. Cold pressing simply involves using a tooling device that is not heated, and it does not involve the use of strong solvents, but it just gets the oil from the seeds via intense pressure. So that preserves the efficacy and the nutrients that will benefit your skin that are found in this oil. Because watermelon seed oil is considered a polyunsaturated oil by virtue of its fatty acid profile, that automatically gives it a lighter, less occlusive texture along with faster absorption than what you would get from a highly saturated oil such as your coconut oil. Mango seed butter, we also obtain that one via cold pressing, and it's a rich source of restorative ingredients for skin, including a whole series of tocopherols, those vitamin E components, phytosterols, which are plant versions of cholesterol. And so what we liked about that is that it allows us to, phytosterols essentially on skin can help mimic what cholesterol that your barrier naturally contains does. Your skin's barrier is typically about 15% cholesterol that is produced in your body. Many sources of cholesterol that are used in skincare products are, if it's listed as cholesterol, it may be synthetic, but it's commonly animal derived. And we're trying to avoid, whenever possible, animal derived ingredients if there is a suitable plant-based or synthetic alternative. So in this case, we loved that mango butter is a rich source of those barrier replenishing and strengthening phytosterols. It's also highly emollient without being really greasy. It's used in higher amounts of what we're doing here, such as for example, it's a stand-in in our body butter for those more occlusive, thicker emollients like petrolatum that are wonderful emollients in and of themselves. Lots of good research behind that type of ingredient. But aesthetically, it just doesn't feel as nice on skin as something like the mango butter. Saccharide isomerate is a corn kernel-derived humectant that works. It fills the spaces between cells. So remember I talked about that barrier and how important it is to keep it intact in order for skin to be healthy, and the screen analogy I use with the insects flying in when you have holes in your screen. So it fills in those spaces between the corneocytes, the surface cells, and acts like a moisture magnet to promote longer lasting hydration. It also helps to boost enzymes within skin surface that ensure key proteins are in place and doing their job to repair and maintain skin's barrier. And in turn, that is going to protect it much better from external aggressors that would otherwise break the barrier down and therefore get more of a, again, think of the screen, a freer access into the deeper layers of your skin where they can cause more lasting damage. So we're using this again at a therapeutic level to reduce the 5 symptoms of dehydrated skin: roughness, dullness, flakiness, tightness, and redness. So it's going to visibly reduce all of those signs. I would say it's playing a supporting role in terms of the strawberry leg fading those types of discolorations, along with the B vitamins that are really the key players in this serum. And last but not least, as I mentioned, is the bacillus ferment. This hydrates and encourages healthier cells by interrupting the formation of damaging elements that are triggered by environmental exposure, thereby soothing the skin. Again, we're going back to this barrier repair, the rebuilding, the soothing, the calming, the locking in moisture. It's excellent paired with niacinamide, since bacillus ferment supports niacinamide's role in letting skin make those or synthesize those ceramides it needs to be smooth and healthy, and that in turn is going to have a trickle-up effect, as I like to say, on the microbiome, which is that invisible barrier. So, I know that was a lot to take in. I hope you agree that this absolutely is an exciting product. We don't have a whole mess of body products where we're definitely more selective as we talk about what we want to formulate, what we want, which concerns we want to address. And I think that Paula's Choice really excels when it comes to the category of body care. I think we really excel in the problem solution category. So we look to those visible issues that people struggle with on the body skin, whether it's rough and flaky patches, dehydration, those dotted discolorations, bumpy texture, and we seek to formulate products that are going to target those concerns and that work better than anything else you may have used. And I think a classic example of that is the feedback we get on our weightless body treatment. In regards to smoothing rough, bumpy texture. That product is even suitable for people who are struggling with a skin condition known as keratosis pilaris. I love it when we hear from people who say, I can finally wear sleeveless tops again because I'm not embarrassed about how my upper arms look. Just amazing. Some myths that I wanted to share with you because, there's a lot of misinformation out there, including from people that are considered experts. And giving them the benefit of the doubt, they may not be looking at the same research that we pour over. But let's start with the fact that skin from the neck down is more resilient, so it doesn't need extra care. And the truth is, skin issues such as sun damage, uneven tone, crepey texture, and a weakened barrier can happen anywhere in the body, not just on the face. And the key ingredients to treat those concerns remain the same. So what works on the face works for the body. You may need different amounts of those key ingredients depending on the severity and the type of concern. But the blend of the key ingredients in the 5% niacinamide body serum was specifically chosen to target skin tone, discoloration, and those barrier impairment issues that can keep you from having the smooth, even tone body skin that you want. So it really is this nice multitasking product that lets you target many concerns without having to use 16 things to get improvement. Next myth is skin from the neck down is thicker and more resilient, so it doesn't really require powerful solutions. And the truth is, the skin on your body is vulnerable too, even though for most of us, compared to our facial and neck skin, the body skin is covered up more often. And that's true. Paula would often talk about what she called the backside test of aging, where you could take a look, compare the skin on the top of your arms, maybe your neck and face, to the skin on your backside, as in your tushy, that rarely see the sun. And what you will undoubtedly see is that the skin on your backside is even colored, smoother, plumper, isn't showing fine lining or wrinkling, and just really doesn't have the same level of visible concern that areas of your skin that see the sun on a routine basis will have. Undoubtedly, particularly if you haven't been good about daily sunscreen use. But even if you have, not all of us have been good about sunscreen use every single day from birth, right? And there's the fact that as effective as and protective as sunscreens are, no sunscreen is 100% capable of screening UV light. And it doesn't take much, whether it's UVA or UVB, it doesn't take much of it to stir up some amount of damage. So, the other truth is that it is a myth that skin on the body is not inherently thicker than skin on the face. The thickness of skin can vary depending on the body site. For example, consider the thickness of skin on your thighs with the thickness, or I should say thinness, of the skin on the tops of your feet, which is really more akin to the thinness of the skin on your hands, the top of your hands. And then you have it's much thicker on the palms and the soles of your feet versus the tops of your hands and the tops of your feet. But along with environmental exposure and the level of that you've had, based on how much skin you've exposed to the sun, there can also be a genetic component to how thick or how thin your skin is at any given point in the body. So it isn't, as a general truth, it isn't true that skin is much thicker and hardier and more robust on the body than it is on the face. The one grain or kernel of truth in that is that our facial and neck skin does take more of an everyday beating, so to speak, because of the fact that we're typically not walking around with that entire part of our skin covered up with clothing or some other type of fabric that is protecting it from environmental exposure the way that skin on the body is. Okay, wanted to share a little bit of feedback from team members. Cynthia, who's our director of content, she noticed a visible reduction in scaliness and a fading of the dotted discolorations that she'd always get from shaving. She recently ran out of the product and started using an alternative and found that it was not working as well for the scaliness, but it was helping to keep the dotted discolorations in check, and that was another product with a higher amount of niacinamide. I think it's that synergy between the niacinamide and Panthenol that's really working the magic, along with some other formulary things that we did. Erin, who is our director of sustainability, said it makes the red dots on her shins disappear immediately. She's just loving the product. Holly from our client services team says this product has been keeping my skin smooth in the back of my arms. Love that it's lightweight and spreadable, yet super emollient. And our global director of education, Deborah, said that she's been using the product on her face, neck, and chest daily and noticed that her skin looks smoother and more even toned overall. I also noticed that on other areas of my body, my skin feels hydrated longer. My personal experience with this and why I fell in love with it is that I definitely have sun damage on my forearms. For years, I wasn't good about putting sunscreen on those areas like I have been for my face and neck, and you can tell the difference. What I've noticed since using this is a return of a more even skin tone, a more even skin color, and it really, the only way to describe it is that I haven't used anything to date that has made the skin on my arms look so healthy. Like you get those areas of sun damage and, separate from the uneven skin tone and the discolorations that you may see, including like freckling, the skin overall just doesn't look as healthy as those more protected areas. And so it's like I've gotten this return to like this buoyancy and the lasting smoothness, and then again the evenness of the color. I mean, I was sold. So that's why I continue to use it. FAQs we did cover. Can this be used on the face? Does it help with KP or keratosis pilaris? It is not known to do that, but it is suitable for skin prone to keratosis pilaris. The formula itself is not likely to make that skin issue worse, and the soothing action of several of the ingredients I suspect would definitely help to relieve some of the visible redness and even a little bit of the discomfort that can come from having that condition. Last one, what is the difference between this 5% niacinamide body serum and the retinol body treatment? They are similarly sized, or the same size, 4 ounces, actually the same component and the same price. The retinol body treatment is more for issues around loss of elasticity and loss of skin firmness that typically occur with both intrinsic aging, the natural passage of time, just more candles on your birthday cake, as well as extrinsic aging, which is going to be your history of environmental damage, including UV light exposure. So you can absolutely use these two products at the same time. If that sounds like more steps than you want to deal with at any point in the day for your body, my suggestion, if you are still keen on both products, is to use one in the morning and one at night. Given the research on niacinamide's ability to help skin better withstand exposure to UV light and how it handles it, versus retinol, my suggestion, if you wanted to alternate, would be, yes, that's the word I'm looking for, would be to use the niacinamide serum as part of your daytime body care routine and apply the retinol skin smoothing body treatment at night. Anecdotally, we don't make this claim, but several customers who reviewed the retinol body treatment have commented that it helps to visibly fade the look of their stretch marks. So that's an interesting benefit that you may also, if stretch marks are a concern of yours, you may want to consider a retinol product such as ours for that area, for that concern. I wouldn't expect that to be an overnight type result. I would think it would be at least maybe 6 to 8 weeks of consistent use before you would start to see that visible difference. But there you go. All right, let's go ahead and turn to some questions. Nicole says, hey Brian, oh my gosh, the serum sounds great. What do you think about denatured alcohol and sunscreen? Some people say it's okay if you laser skin-friendly, oh, I think you mean layer skin-friendly serums, treatments underneath. So yeah, the big concern with alcohol and sunscreens is that typically the amount they contain to help solubilize those UV filters tends to be on the higher side. And then aesthetically, it has the benefit, even though it's not a great ingredient for skin, it has the benefit of making those UV filters that feel more oily feel lighter. It helps the product dry faster, so you can kind of spray and lightly blend in and get on with your day, as opposed to standing around waiting for a lotion or cream to absorb, before you can get dressed or before you can get back in the water or whatever. So first and foremost, I would rather, if an alcohol-based sunscreen is your sunscreen of choice, because you just love how it feels, I would rather you use that type of a formula than go without sunscreen. So that would be number one. Ultimately, it's a tricky one because the damage from the higher amount of alcohol is fairly fast, particularly when it comes to depleting those key barrier repair substances. And that in and of itself, because some of the UV filters can be inherently more sensitizing, particularly when used in higher amounts required to get those super high SPF ratings, it doesn't make sense to use it with a stronger solvent like alcohol that we know can impede skin's barrier strength, and therefore potentially cause those UV filters to penetrate further into the skin. Whereas if they had just remained on the surface of somebody whose barrier was intact, they wouldn't be sensitizing. But because they're being carried further into the skin, they're allowed to absorb further into the skin, and oftentimes alcohol-based sunscreens also have fragrance because the fragrance is there to offset the kind of noxious smell that the denatured alcohol has. It's kind of a double whammy of irritation. What you could do as a potential experiment, again, if you're just thinking alcohol-based sunscreens are your favorite in terms of aesthetics, is spray some into your hand and give it 20-30 seconds for some of the alcohol to flash off and then apply. That could be a potential workaround. I don't have any data to back up that that's actually the better way to go. But in theory, that could potentially be less risky for your skin. Sean says, the serum looks great. I wish I could use it. Every time I use a product with niacinamide, my skin would burn, tingle, and turn red. I'm so sorry, Sean. Yeah, you may well have a sensitivity to niacinamide. I don't know if you've done the process of elimination thing, though, where you have taken a look at what else in the products with niacinamide you're using. Is there a common thread beyond niacinamide? Oftentimes, we look at a product that we've had a sensitized reaction to and think, it must be this key ingredient. And we don't take note of maybe it's the same preservatives, for example, in those products along with the niacinamide. Or maybe every product with niacinamide that you've used also has fragrance or some other potential sensitizer that you overlook because it's not called out on the label, it's not played up, it's just in there, but it's actually what the culprit is. So now, you may well have already done your due diligence in that regard, and you're like, yep, it's the niacinamide, I'm sure of it. But given its long history of safe use and very, very low risk of causing that type of reaction, it may be worth going back and checking that, because I'd hate for you to miss out on whether it's from our product or somebody else's. I'd hate for you to miss out on what niacinamide can do for skin, just because you had a bad experience with it in the past, and you may have named that as the culprit when it really wasn't. But again, it may well have been. I don't know the whole history, but just some food for thought there. Roel says, we have got retinol and niacinamide body product. Now only a vitamin C derivative body serum is missing. Oh, yes. Well, that is something we could look at for the future. Just so you know, that's not forthcoming, but I appreciate the suggestion. Marlo says, sweet, would this work well as a facial moisturizer too? Well, yes. Actually, one of the things, separate from can you use it on the face, which yes, you can. In terms of the texture and using this with other products in your facial care routine, I would say if you want to use this as a facial moisturizer, it is best for normal to dry or combination skin that isn't what I would call extreme combination skin, where you have normal to very dry skin on the cheeks, but your T-zone is oil overload, like constantly greasy, you're always blotting, makeup seems to just slide off that area. I don't think you'd like the way that feels in your T-zone. But in terms of body skin from the neck down, that's the all skin types designation. Susan says, hi Brian, could you tell us about the upcoming revised Beautypedia will be like? I'm a huge fan of Beautypedia. You are going to have to wait and see. It is, what I can say is that it is going to be, it is not going to be the same product review experience. It is going to take a different approach to evaluation of products. Let's see. Noelle, who is one of our lab extraordinaire staffers, says watermelon plus mango plus prickly pear equals love. Got the little emoticon there. Pam, what percentage of niacinamide is in pore reducing toner? That one is a efficacious percentage, but that's one that we keep proprietary. It is not at the same high level as this product, the 10% niacinamide booster, or the clinical 20% niacinamide treatment. It is at a level, though, that you can use that toner with any of those other products and not tip the scales in favor of irritation, because that's never the goal. This sounds perfect. Andrea says this sounds perfect for using on my sensitive reactive skin under my retinol and moisturizer. Can't wait to get my hands on it. And then the skin on my face. Oh, okay, Andrea, let me know. Let me know what you think of it once you've tried it. I would say for facial use, probably about half a pump. Once you kind of master the pump itself and that pressure in terms of, okay, this is what a full pump looks like. Now I'm going to get half a pump. Frida says, hi Brian, can you please make a mattifying mineral SPF for oily skin? I've tried the Resist SPF 30, but it's too dark for my skin tone, and the Calm SPF 30 normal to oily wasn't matte enough. Thank you for this suggestion, Frida. One of the things that I have pushed for is the Resist Superlight Daily Defense SPF 30 is one of our top selling products. It is our number one selling facial SPF, but I hear you. The tint that is designed to offset the white cast from the zinc oxide, it is not everyone's cup of tea in terms of, it's a little too dark for me, which is why I use the one from SkinCeuticals instead. My skin just does best with a mineral sunscreen, but I absolutely need one that has a tint, because anything untinted, even when they say they're using nano zinc or nano titanium dioxide or micronized forms of it, if it's SPF 30 or greater, which is what I strive for, it looks pasty on me. It's not pretty, so I have to have that tint. And so but one of the things that I've pushed for and will continue to do so is a potential expansion of the tint for that product. Potentially, I think what would make a lot of people happy is going or doing a lighter offering than the original, and then doing 1 or 2 darker offerings. It's tricky though, because even if we did that, we're still going to be leaving some people out. We're not going to make everybody happy, and with those tints, you always try to be as inclusive as possible. I always hate to tell somebody, I'm sorry, you can't use this product. It's not that, that you're not going to like the color. It's not going to look good on you, because that's a different discussion, right? Than telling someone, I'm not recommending this product for you because it's going to be too rich for your skin type, or it's not going to be hydrating enough for what you need, or the level of exfoliation this is capable of providing isn't as in-depth as what I think you need for your current skin concerns. So it's tricky, but we're not giving up. Don't lose hope. And then somebody had asked about the Australian Gold sunscreen. Yes, Sean. Can you please do a quick review of Australian Gold SPF 50 for fair to light? I'm using right now my sunscreen. I ran on Paula's Choice Resist Super Lightweight. So I actually happen to have this here. This is one of my favorite tinted mineral sunscreens for the body, and I use it on my son, who has a darker skin tone. Not super dark, but he's not really fair like me. And so again, an untinted mineral sunscreen doesn't look very good. It kind of takes on a violet cast on his skin. Overall, I like this. This is the Fair to Light that they're calling it Botanical 50 Tinted Face. It has titanium dioxide and zinc oxide at 4%. I've wondered over the years how using only 8% total of those UV filters, they managed to get to SPF 50. That's another discussion. I'm not saying that they did anything wrong. There's various ways you can get your SPF level higher without loading the actives, without using super high amounts of UV filters. It's not an easy feat though. There is a small amount, there's some good antioxidants in here. It's silicone based or siloxane based, so if you are someone who wants to stay away from silicones, you don't really need to, but if you're just kind of skeevy about them, this would not be a sunscreen for you. But it does have some eucalyptus leaf extract in it. Normally, I would say, ooh, that's an irritant for skin because of those volatile fragrant components. However, in my years of having this sunscreen around in its various formats and names, I've never detected a eucalyptus-like smell, so I don't think that would be cause for concern with this particular product. So we are just about at the end of the hour. I wanted to thank you guys for joining me, and I was going to look ahead to the next live oh, this is going to be a good one. So on June 15th, the second live chat of the month is going to be on acne myths. So if you're planning on coming back and watching, I would love to hear some of your acne myths, maybe some myths that you believed in the past and you found out the truth, either from us or from someone else that you trust. And we'll share all those stories, because I have a long and sordid history with acne, and it was not my friend. And I believed a lot of the acne myths, and it did not help my skin, and that is something that I'm very glad to be in a position where I have this megaphone, so to speak, to share the facts so that you don't fall into the same acne myth trap that I did when I was much younger and struggling with acne big time. So hope you'll join me for that, and I hope that you will consider the 5% niacinamide body serum for your routine. I think I've made the case that it has multiple uses for various areas of your body, and I'd love to know what you think about it. I'm open to any feedback on our products, positive or negative. I want to hear it. So come back and talk to me. And until then, take care.